Thank you. Again, my name is Ed Myers. I'm with Kittleson and Associates. We were actually the authors, and this is the Federal Roundabout Guide, which is being used for the projector tonight. That is, those are the national standards for designing roundabouts, and we were actually one of the authors of, or the principal author of that. So that's my background. As Velaga said, at the last meeting there was a lot of feedback about the speeds at the circle. It had been converted to roundabout control a few years ago, and I'm going to talk about some of the issues that you find and some of the science behind what you're seeing out there in terms of the speeds. Next slide, please. So this is the existing roundabout. For single lane roundabouts, which is what you have out there, some portions of it may seem like a little bit more than the single lane, but essentially it's a single lane roundabout. For single lane roundabouts in the guidance, we try to get the entry speeds down to 25 miles per hour. And if you look at the entry and exit speeds there, they're 28. We show greater than 34 miles per hour, so it's probably much faster than that, or cars can go faster than that. So the science shows what you're all experiencing out there. The speeds are much faster. So next slide, please. Again, some more of the entries, greater than 34 miles per hour, 31 miles per hour. And if you compare this to the 25 miles per hour that we're desiring to have them come in. Next slide. Same thing with some of the other approaches, but very fast entry speeds, which is what you're experiencing out there. Next slide. So what we looked at is, this is basically the drawing of what you have a handout for, and there are more here. I think I printed about 50 for this meeting, but this is in response to that, and I would say this roundabout is, if we were starting from scratch, if it were a T intersection, not a circle, this is what we would come up with for the design. And probably importantly, the reason that the speeds are so fast is because the radii, the curves on the outside of the roundabout are so broad, so fast. So the green areas, which are, and we can talk about the details of what goes in those later, but those are meant to constrict the entries, the entry widths. So now it's very wide coming in, probably 20, 25 feet. Because there's so much pavement on the entrance, it feels like it's a lot faster. So that constricts the entries to about 15 to 18 feet wide on the entry. It's still wide enough to accommodate all the trucks and all the vehicles, buses, etc., garbage trucks that will go through the roundabout. Next slide. So if you compare the fastest paths, the speeds for the proposed design compared to what it was in the existing, all of these are under 25 miles per hour. So we're achieving the desired speed reduction. So the cars coming into the circle are going to be going much slower. Next slide. Again, more speed passed, but under 25 miles per hour. That was our target speed, and that's what we achieved. Next slide. Next slide, same thing with the speeds. So I wanted to talk about the vehicular travel. The yellow lines represent the left turns, and the red lines represent the right turns. And you can just follow those through. But basically, you're used to driving through a circle because you have a circle out there today. So it's the same basic idea as what you have out there today. The lanes are a little bit narrower. It's a single lane that will feel very much like a single lane, as opposed to, in some cases, it probably feels like more of a lane and a half or 2 lanes sometimes. Next slide. The pedestrian travel, this will be a little bit different than what is out there today, and we're doing this for a reason. Right now, people come up to the circle and they walk through the center of the circle, and there are sidewalks that allow them to do that. In modern roundabout design, in that manual, we prefer that you not do that, and it's made basically for safety reasons. We want pedestrians to navigate the outside edge of the circle, and that's what we're doing here. So you navigate the outside. Now that's where the pedestrian paths lead you. Are there going to be people that walk through the center of the circle? Probably, and there's nothing we can do to prevent that. But that's not where the signs are going to be. That's not where the ramps are going to be, and that's not where we would prefer people to navigate. It's going to be on the outside edge of the roundabout. Next slide, please. The bike travel, this is a little bit different, and the bike lanes that you have going around the circle, which basically they go around and navigate around the circle. I don't know if there have been any bike accidents out there today. Does anyone know of any? But it's the way that you have the bike lanes there is the way the Netherlands and Denmark treated their bike lanes back in the 80s and 90s. And that's a very rich bike culture if you're not familiar with it. So a lot of bicyclists. And what they found was because they're circulating, the bikes are circulating around in front of the stopped vehicles at the yield line, they were getting hit. So the guidance internationally, really every country that designs roundabouts, is to have the bike lanes come up. I'm going to stand up here. The green is a bike lane. It comes up, and at this point, a bicyclist chooses to either get off and navigate as a pedestrian around the roundabout or to enter as a vehicle. And we can stripe that as kind of a sharrow for the bikes to go around, but we don't want a separate sort of bike roundabout to go around the circle. Does that make sense to people?
So they would dismount and walk.
If they went around the edge, they're supposed to dismount and walk. Again, I don't, whether people will do that, I don't know. But I actually did see a lot of bikes out there.
The current situation is that if one is coming on Walnut Lane from Germantown, that is from the direction of Wissahickon Avenue, and intends to go around the circle, the vehicles that are in the circle coming from, let's say, from Roxborough, they will just swoop right in front of the bicycle while it's in the circle and go off on the road that leads to Mount Airy.
Right.
So, because many of us bicycle riders don't quite have the power of a car,
Right.
we're faced with a kind of a confrontation. And of course, the cars don't give a damn about the bicycle.
Right.
They wouldn't like to hurt a biker and get sued, but it is a problem. And if I may go back to your speed control, I've only been here 20 years, and cars, when they're liberated from the traffic light at Wissahickon Avenue and Walnut Lane, they're delighted because they have, let's say, about a half mile to move along at 50, 60, whatever. And I don't know if your circle will really force them to slow down. It certainly does. Nothing, even including your the illuminated sign that was out there for several weeks, nothing seems to stop cars from speeding.
Yeah, but what we're doing different than what's out there today is we're adding curbs on the inside and the outside. So it's I hate to use.
See those white things? They are hook shops, raised curb islands. So they really can't. They just cannot go the way they used to go.
Yeah, so
Not as painted. That's why they are going on the paint and going at higher speed.
Yeah, so they will go slower. I promise you they'll go slower.
What's the speed flow coming off Johnson Street? 0? You gotta wait for everybody to go around?
Well, Johnson Street is no different than what it is today. It's a stop sign, and you have to wait for a gap in traffic today. Really, the only difference with Johnson Street today is that you're not supposed to make a left out of Johnson Street, and it's signed not to make a left. That island is going to prevent that, so that you have to make a U-turn around the circle.
I think the question was misunderstood about traffic speed from the last meeting, that the response to this appears to address is not the actual traffic speed problem, which is much larger on Walnut Lane. I think that's what Sheldon was referring to, is that the space between Wissahickon Avenue and the entrance to the Bluebell Hill Meadow Park, which is just off the right bottom side of your picture there, is the big problem with speeding. And it wasn't actually a complaint as much about the circle, that there's always been some issues with people getting across, but if the traffic could be controlled between Wissahickon Avenue and the entrance to Bluebell Meadow, it would allow people, pedestrians, to cross Walnut Lane to the park for recreation and with their dogs and so forth, and as bicyclists and pedestrians in any form. I think this was an unexpected response, so maybe the question was not heard from the community as the community intended it. The circle is bringing up new questions to some of us who only saw it for the first time this very recently, perhaps this last week, and it brings up some questions which we didn't anticipate having to even raise. So to list those questions, just to know that we didn't intend this to be the result. It was the traffic on Walnut Lane from the park entrance to Wissahickon, which is the big issue. This eliminates the church parking. It constricts the whole intersection, so it creates potential choke points where if there's a disabled vehicle, for example, that no one can get through at all at this point, and it creates a big concern for many, at least, of the residents on Johnson Street, that they will be inconvenienced, to put it mildly, getting off the end of the block, which can be a challenge already, and this appears to make that more of a challenge.
So, for the people applauding and Eric, and I think you're terrific, there are a whole lot of people that are really concerned about the speeds in the circle and having to enter there and the accidents and the crunch you wait for in the circle. And in addition to that, speed by the park and perhaps having an island down further towards Park Lane. So I think there are a whole host of concerns, and this addresses some of them. I think a majority of the feedback that we got after soliciting advice from the community several months ago and ongoing, most people talked about bike lanes. And this is certainly a biking community, and how can folks safely commute or drive with kids.
Actually, I just have a few more slides, so why don't I get through the rest of the slides, and then we can open it up there.
Could you take her question real fast?
Sure.
Are you working with David Douglas in the traffic control, or the traffic engineer in District
6.
whatever it is, I don't know.
He's a
Yes,
city,
you're not?
the city traffic engineer, David DeLugo, in the street department.
You're not working with them, or you are? Yes?
No, we are from PennDOT, he's a city.
I know, but you have nothing to do with what he's doing with with Walnut Lane and traffic control?
Okay,
No?
all right.
Okay,
All
all
right.
right. Okay,
We'll talk to him, we will talk to him.
okay.
I've observed
We do know him.
with the circle, the main problem is that both the incoming cars and those that are already on the circle both think they have the right of way. Yes. I mean, I think that rather than necessarily speed of the cars.
And how does time affect that?
Well, actually, I think the speed of the cars affects that, because cars are coming in at such a high rate of speed, and you see cars coming in at a high rate of speed, that when the entering cars are slower, it'll become more clear to people.
Do people ignore yield signs? I mean, does the
Yeah,
signage isn't relevant?
Well, if I look at the yield signs here, they're hard to see. And because of the curbs that we're going to be placing, the islands on the left side and the new curbs on the right side, those yield signs will be more prominent. But yield signs are intended to be slow down, proceed with caution. So it is different than the stop sign.
You said will be placing. I thought that this was a suggestion. This is a suggestion. This is for our review.
Regardless, you have to have yield signs, no matter what the design.
You said the curbs we will be installing. I mean, this is for our review, not a set pat plan. Is that correct?
Well, we're not very far in design, so this is the opportunity for the community to weigh in on it. And if you don't want it, we're here because of the feedback that we received at the last meeting.
Yes, sir.
What about speed bumps on those cars that are coming so fast along Walnut Lane?
And
Well,
quiet, and
instead of-
after they come out of there on our street on Quiet,
it's real simple, it's just speed bumps. In other words, the signage doesn't work, nothing seems to work. They come speeding along, my wife is always screaming in terror, they're gonna hit me, they're gonna hit me, I'm banging on the horn, we do it every damn time. Because there's always somebody trying to either fake you out or just really coming to a screeching halt after going 60 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Whereas if you got speed bumps, then those little sons of bitches would stop when they get knocked out by being flown up in the air and off the side of the road. That's what I want to say. I want to say, knocked out.
We'll coordinate with the city traffic engineer to see what their plans are. We typically wouldn't put speed humps at the roundabout, and actually, this would slow traffic down at the roundabout or at the circle itself. You're saying you have concerns further up towards Wissahickon. And, you know, we can coordinate with the city traffic engineer to see what plans they have there as well.
Casey, can he finish his talk and then we ask questions?
We'll be happy to stay here. Next slide, please. And then actually, I'm almost done. The bus stops are moved just slightly back. The island in front of Johnson Street requires the bus stops to be back. Someone mentioned parking. We lose about 2 parking spaces because of that bus stop. And we could talk about moving that bus stop to another location to get that parking back, but essentially there's 2 parking spaces that will be lost out in front of this church.
Well, currently there's many more parking spaces than that out there. And on Walnut Lane, what it appears you're losing is all the parking from the corner of Johnson Street to the first driveway behind the buildings. Is that correct?
Well, but behind that, there's a bus stop. So we're just moving the bus stop back. So if you park on the bus stop, then you're losing that parking space as well. But there's about 50 feet behind the existing bus stop to that first driveway. So that's about 2
But
parking
isn't that going to be your landscaping?
This bus stop
I'm
is this.
confused now.
This is, the existing bus stop is in this area here.
Yes,
And we're proposing to move it back here. So
but on the plan, it
This-
looks like it's all landscape.
this could be,
Green.
yeah. Next slide.
The concern was that there would be no parking for the church members.
So one at a time, but
Okay, so these are the new landscape areas, and this is, we're very early in the planning process to determine, you know, how these are landscaped and who maintains them, et cetera. These are potential areas to be landscaped and to become part of the community. Next slide. So now we can open up the questions.
Yeah, actually, so one of the points on the plan that you didn't talk about was the sort of truck curbing back into the circle.
Right.
There you want to see gated community.
Yeah, so the truck apron, the circle itself is a little bit smaller. So this area where the sidewalk is would become a truck apron. And that would allow trucks that are making this left turn, these left turns, to be able to continue to make that turn. So that would be a concrete apron. But it would replace not the landscape portion of the island that's out there today, but the sidewalk area.
So you're saying there will be no grass around? the
Well,
circle?
there will still, all this area will still be landscape.
So but from the circle, there's a sidewalk and then there's grass, so the grass is going to be eliminated.
And the sidewalk.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
the sidewalk. What does a truck apron look like?
Well, it can be made of different materials. It can be brick or concrete, or there's things called stamped concrete. So we can work.
How high?
Well, there would be a mountable curb, which is about, this curb would be about 3 inches high, and then there would be a curb at the back that's probably 6 to 8 inches high.
That sure takes away from looking at the circle.
Well, the landscape area doesn't change.
The middle of the circle does not change. It looks exactly the same.
No, it doesn't.
Well, you
It's
would
still
really
not
want
much.
the circle.
Keep it up.
Well, it's shrunk.
You're cementing around. You're cementing.
Right up into it.
In other words, you're taking away the grass and leaving the sidewalk.
No, you're taking away the sidewalk.
Taking away the
And the
sidewalk.
And the grass.
And
And the grass.
Yeah.
And you're laying another,
Curb.
Another.
just a curb?
No, there would be a curb here, this line will be a curb, this line will be a curb, and then this all will be a trucking.
Concrete bus.
So there's no green and no sidewalk.
This is all green, that remains.
I know that, I know what the middle looks like,
Yeah.
but I'm talking about around it, there is no more green.
So you're cutting the circle down a little bit with the curb in for the trucks.
Right.
And how big is the curb gonna be?
And
Wide, I should say.
This will be 3 inches right here.
That's
The width of the trucking is about 10 feet.
The width is gonna be 3 inches?
The height of the curb is 3 inches.
Oh, it's gonna be 10 feet in.
Yeah.
So you're taking 10 feet away from the whole circle?
Right.
10 feet coming in this way, 10 feet coming in this way. So there's gonna be less grass.
There's no grass.
So then, and that's just gonna make it so the curb, the trucks can go on and they ride up into the grass because people don't want to handle it.
Well, if we left the grass there, trucks would drive over the grass.
They only did it in one spot.
Where have they done it? How many times has trucks
Sorry,
gone there?
can we please just have one person at a time? It's difficult for me to listen to all the different voices going on.
Well, I wanted to ask, so how, I walk around that area all the time. Okay, we got the buses, we got the garbage trucks, okay. But bigger trucks do not come down the street. They don't. I've never, how many people have seen semis come down that street? When? What time of day do they do that?
All the time.
All day
Lots
long.
of buses.
And the
65 buses. All day long.
trash trucks.
Trash trucks.
Yeah. You got
Man trucks
semis.
and semis.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
All day long.
Okay, I stand corrected.
When the construction starts, where will Walnut Lane end, at the circle or end at the bridge?
When construction starts, this will be open, so we'll have this approach open. This will be closed as it would have been for the bridge construction. But we'll maintain this roadway.
How long will construction closure last?
That I can't tell you, but it'll take less time to build this than it will the bridge. But how long will it take to build the bridge?
We're thinking about 6 months will the traffic will be closed on the bridge. But we are going to put incentives. If he could finish it before that, he gets money.
And shiny work, I hope not.
No, shiny work is not permitted.
Well,
What about Park Line?
My observation is that people don't know how to use a circle. And it's put a yield sign up that doesn't explain it.
We actually going to put this new signage that they use on the traffic
Has right
signs.
of way, kind
Yes.
of thing already in the circle.
Yeah, and I would say also, I've designed a lot of roundabouts over the last 20 years. When it's designed properly, people drive them. They'll figure it out properly. Part of the problem here is the speeds that people are entering. So when people are going the speed that you want them to go, they're going to obey the signs more.
So where will the welcome to Bluebell Hill sign go?
Well, we'll work with the community to determine where you all want that. We don't have any preconceived
Are you
notions.
going to make a new one for us?
Probably not.
I have 2 questions. Are we talking months or years for the closure of the bridge?
Months.
He just said 6 months.
The second question is, if you have, this design would certainly slow people down in the approach to what we're now calling a roundabout as opposed to call a circle. Pennsylvanians and Philadelphians, they don't know a roundabout from an art car. You can see it because all the cars here, they don't know how to yield. And I'm from Pennsylvania, so I don't really know either except I can read the signs. So this will probably help that it will slow people down. But the real problem with the speed does originate, somebody said it, with the hiccup. And it's a downhill, it seems to be built for speed. And, okay, and speed, fast. So do you have a concern that people who are going to go, once they get to, park, that they're going to have the ability to stop and slow down to the speeds that will be necessary to navigate this circle?
That would be in the middle of the circle. Yeah.
Can I just finish? Fender benders from people flying into people who are stopped and waiting for traffic at the circle. I don't know if there's anything that can be done, speed bumps or something to slow the traffic down as it originates with people. That is really where I think the problem.
Well, again, we'll work with the city to see what their plans are on leading up to the circle. But if you sit here and observe traffic, and I'm sure you have, and I have, and a couple times I've been out here, there are times when cars slow down and completely stop coming into that. So it's really not going to be any different than that. It's the difference between now and when it's if it's converted to a roundabout is that all cars are going to be entering at a much lower speed, as opposed to now you have some cars, if they feel like they want to, they can go around this thing at 45 miles an hour or 35 miles an hour. I'm sure they do. You're not going to be able to do that. I mean, there's probably going to be a 16-year-old that just got his license that's going to test it out. But
so would that be, as far as dealing with the speed of traffic between Civic and the approach to the roundabout, would that be the city and not the state, or would it be both the city and the state?
Well, we'll work with them to see what they're, with the city.
With the city?
Yeah.
I can speak to the city's efforts. I've been working with, there's one particular resident that I've been working with who is very obviously concerned, along with many of you. That's how the speed trailer got there over the summer. That was part of one of the efforts. The streets department also timed the lights at Walnut and Wissahickon a little bit. It doesn't look like that has changed too much. We're also looking at the possibility of doing a red light camera at Walnut and Wissahickon. It has to meet the criteria, which is very specific. In fact, we'll probably know the results of their study sometime this week. It's been about 8 to 10 weeks over the summer. And we talked about doing some other stuff, but I think hopefully that this plan in conjunction will help, because Walnut Lane is a state highway, so they do have jurisdiction. Although the streets department also, it's like any other state street, like Henry Avenue, where they both work together on issues. So there have been stuff that we've been working on since the last meeting and since over the summer. So it's how some of the things that someone had mentioned the speed trail, that's how they got there. So we'll continue to work and try to find a solution.
In reference to just what he said, piggyback on him, I contacted Rosita Youngblood's office several years ago about the speeding on Walnut Lane, and she said the city couldn't do anything about it. But she said it's a state road and it's PennDOT's authority to do something about the speeding. And she did what she could, but she really couldn't do anything. So.
Mr. Charlie Denny came to the last meeting, this meeting, he couldn't make it. He is aware of all your complaints. They are working at it just like he said. And there are certain things only the city can do. Like he's talking about red light, cameras at the intersections, policing. That is still in the city's hands.
Yeah, I should mention that we've asked the captain. This side of Walnut Lane is the 39th police district. I know this is sort of separates 3 different police districts. 14th and the 5th is on the other side. So Captain Craighead have asked for an increase in patrols. I don't know that has happened too much. And we've also looked at doing some bigger signage so people can actually see what the speed limit is. We don't know, all these things, hopefully in conjunction with each other, will help slow down things. One thing on its own may not help, but everything together hopefully will help. So yeah, there are things underway that we've been working with to try to slow down traffic on Walnut Lane.